All right, cool. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to another beautiful Tuesday morning. Glad you guys could take time out of your schedule. We'll see if some other folks pop in here. Josie's waiting for the fish screensaver to pop on, so hopefully that comes on sooner rather than later. She's trying to
Gonna
match Daniel's
happen.
fish, the
It's gonna
real
happen.
fish in the background.
It normally doesn't take this long. I don't know what's going on.
That's all right. It's coming. It's coming soon.
It's
Anyway,
coming.
let's go ahead and get started. What do we got going on? We got some wins going on. Josie, what do you got going on in your neck of the woods? How's everything?
Look, I think it's coming. Or just there it
Hey!
is. Hey. That's my win. No, timed it perfectly. No, things are good. Things are moving around. If all goes well, we should have a closing on Monday, so that's fantastic. But as we all know here, every day something changes. So if all goes well, closing on Monday. So that's great. And showings are in full swing, so 'tis the season.
Yeah, yeah. Fall is in the air. I think buyers are getting a little off the fence and ready to make a move. And so yeah, Daniel, how's things going over there? I saw offers getting ready to go in this morning.
Yeah, I just submitted an offer, all cash offer, and also submitted a pretty hefty repair amendment on another one of my contracts. So waiting to see how that comes back. That's going to be interesting. That's going to be a fight for sure. But
They're always a fight.
yeah, yeah, yeah. How
They're
about you
always a fight.
guys? What are y'all up
Good.
to?
Josh,
Alan,
how
how are
about you,
you?
man? How's everything in your neck of the woods? How's everything going?
Good, man. Got a couple buyers under contract. As Josie said, anything can happen, so we'll see. Um, yeah, I'm still plugging away at my listings, so staying busy.
Oh man, am I still sharing my screen? Oh my gosh. I'm sorry, guys. I didn't mean to be doing that.
I thought you were just really preparing.
Oh, I mean, I'm prepared, but
It's all good.
I didn't know my screen was still on. Okay, sorry about
It's
that.
all
Really
it's all
into a
good.
screen.
Yeah. Anyways, well, good, man. Congrats on the buyers under contract, and Daniel, I saw your repair amendment come in, and this week or I guess it was over the weekend, I submitted a 4-page doozy of repair amendment, and the sellers came back not happy. They offered some concessions in lieu. The buyer said, "Nope, let's go ahead and terminate." And I said, "Wait a minute, let's not lose our cool. Let's keep everyone on an even keel. What are the game changers? What are the deal breakers? What are the must-haves?" So they narrowed down the items. We sent it to the seller. It was a lot easier for the seller to pallet that. So I think we're going to have an agreement. So I guess the moral of the story is you don't give up. Daniel always likes to say, don't take a no when a yes is still on the table, and people get emotional. So Josh, I'm sure you deal with that too on the listing side, on the buyer side. And, are you seeing some hefty requests on some buyer plates recently?
Yeah, so one of the buyers I have under contract now, she was under contract for another house to start October off, and we spent a good couple weeks there. We extended the option period a couple times, just trying to get a full scope of what was there. And the seller seemed like they were going to play ball while we were in there doing our secondary inspections and whatnot. But once we came with the full list of everything, there was just a hard no. They're like,
Oh, wow.
we'll do the roof because the insurance can take care of that, but everything else, no, and that was just it. And my buyer really liked the house and was like, well, what if? And they're like, we said no.
Wow.
And last I checked, that house is still sitting on the market. So she pulled out because there was just, it just hit a brick wall. And yeah, I mean, but
It
then
happens.
the other house I have under contract, we didn't have as big of a list, but it was still a healthy list. And the seller, had tried to sell a few times. They were on their third realtor, so they were
Oh my
more
God.
they were willing to play ball. They were like, okay, what does he want? What's he want? I'll gift wrap it.
Yeah.
You
Yeah, it
know?
happens. It happens.
But that's yeah, I mean that's kind of what I'm seeing in my bear situations. It's just it's either feast or famine. The sellers either understand the market and the situation they're in, or they haven't felt the pain of being listed for 90, 100 days yet, and they still think they got the bargaining chip.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is we never know how the seller's going to respond.
Oh yeah,
Now we've had super long lists, and the seller's like, "Yeah, we'll take
yeah,
care of it all," and it's like, "What?
yeah.
Excuse me?"
I had a deal
And
over the summer. Oh, go
you
ahead.
know,
I had a deal over the summer that I kept thinking was going to blow up, and just because we were asking for like everything. And, my buyer didn't leave anything out. And at various points, I kept thinking it was going to blow up. I could tell the listing agent didn't like it, but the seller was all on board. And somehow that closed. By the grace of God, I mean, but at several points, even like, like a handful of days before closing, I'm like, this ain't going to happen. Because we hadn't done the final walkthrough yet. I'm like, something's going to happen. So I just distrusted the situation. But I'd never negotiated a full foundation repair before.
Wow.
That was
Wow.
the first
Yeah.
time.
Wow. And I think yeah, it's true. I think sellers have to understand, where we're at. And the longer we get days on market, it's one of those things, especially when that seller has holding costs. If
Yep.
they're continually paying a mortgage and their insurance and utilities and everything like that, it's like, okay, let's really, and this is always my recommendation to a seller, if a doozy of a repair amendment comes in, it's like, okay, let's look at what it's going to cost, and let's look at, kind of like you said, I don't know if it was you or Daniel, Josh, but the pain, the pain of holding. If we terminate this contract and we're on the market another 60 days, your mortgage payment's $3,000 a month plus your holding costs plus your utility. It's like, is it worth it to do the repairs that might cost you $2,500? Yes, it might be a little inconvenience and a little more legwork, but we'll help you with all that. Or are we just going to say a hard no and we might lose this buyer? So you really have to weigh the pros and cons. How much is it going to cost? And the numbers take care of everything. Everything can be taken care of with the number. So yeah, but I think that's where having a good agent on your side really comes in handy. You know, Even on the listing side, when I was telling y'all about that 4-page amendment, the listing agent, she told me she's been in the business for 27 years. And in having a conversation with her, she said, I understand. I saw the report. I'm familiar with that inspector. That inspector does, very thorough job. And she says, I've seen worse. So she said, I'm going to talk my seller through it. I'm going to let them know what's going on. I'm trying to calm them down. So, the agents on both sides of the transaction can be very instrumental in, making or breaking the balance there.
Yeah.
So I think that's very important to be able to be objective, not get emotional. Daniel and I had a seller, and we still make jokes about it to this day. Every time he would get an offer, even if the offer was slightly below, his response right away was, what was it, Daniel?
I'll decline that.
I'll decline it. Right away it was like, boom. No. It's like, wait a minute, let's look at it again. Let's look at where we're at and let's come back with a counter. We're not just going to do a hard decline. And so yeah, it's that when a yes is still on the table, people get a little fussy sometimes, and we got to bring it back to an objective place and figure out the numbers, right?
Well, like you had posted that the best agents and the best training you get is during a deal. And, we know a lot of agents, and there's nothing wrong with this, but we know a lot of agents that do a lot of trainings, a lot of designations, but they've never had one deal. And they think that there's this fantastic agent because they have so many designations and they go to all these classes and they're on the board for this and XYZ, but they don't know how to handle an actual deal. And I think when you do the actual deals, you as an agent and as a person you learn how to handle emotional situations and people and different emotions, because it is a very emotional thing, buying or selling. And the more you do this line of work and the more you are exposed to different personalities and different emotions, it really helps us, even as human beings, to navigate those waters. So I think we shouldn't be learning the amount of, square feet in a mile. Like, you teach us how to handle emotional people,
But you
that's what should
can't.
be in real estate classes.
You can't. I mean,
Yeah.
like experience is the best teacher.
Yeah,
To your point,
exactly.
and I tell people all the time, I'm like, I could sit you down and teach you the textbook version of real estate, but until you've actually gone through it, you really don't know. And even when you've gone through it, it's gonna evolve. It's gonna do something different the next time. I remember, the first time I bought my house, my first home in 2012, that was one experience. I bought my second home in 2023, completely different experience, right? Of course, buying and selling is completely different. There's all this emphasis. We're talking about sellers right now. There's all this emphasis in our industry on first-time home buyers, and like how we need to guide them and show them the pipeline and walk them through the process. But what about the first-time home seller? And
Exactly.
I think that experience gets swept under the rug. Some of these folks who bought that home, and I run into these folks a lot. Who bought their first home, maybe their second home, like 20 something years ago, and selling, is a brand new experience to them, and they may have that experience in real estate, but they don't have that experience selling. So they need you to pump the brakes and to walk them through that too, just as if they were a first time home buyer.
And it could be highly emotional. They could have raised their kids in that house,
It
so
is
it's
highly
very
emotional.
emotional.
There's no code
Yeah.
about it. Yeah, unless
Yeah.
unless, unless you're selling an investment property. Well, even then, I mean, there's some money tied to it, but
Yeah.
it is an emotional experience.
The
For sure.
anchors are different, but the
Yeah,
emotions are there.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Very cool, very cool. Well, anything else to add before I just have a real quick little slide deck to go through, talking about, addressing those problems, and those questions that people have. And, Josh is really good at doing this. I've been following his content, for a long, long time. And Josh is really good at posting questions that people have, answering those questions. I liked the post that you did about, you were talking about repairs, you were talking about roof, you were talking about all that other kind of stuff, things that sellers really need to take into account, before they sell the house and during the process, during the repair negotiations. So yeah, so anything else to add? You want me to go ahead and jump into it?
Go for it.
Go for
Let's
it.
do it. So cool. So what we're going to talk about here, and y'all already saw my first one because I was sharing my screen before before I had intended to share it, but let me go ahead and
Spoiler
share it
alert.
again. So yeah, so what we're going to talk about is a really simple way, and this is, so Josh and Josie, we missed you guys at conference. Hopefully y'all can join us next year. If y'all saw the announcement, we're going to have 4 different conferences next year. One in Cape Town, South Africa, one in Vancouver, one in Paris, France, which is going to be amazing. Super excited about that. And then one in Salt Lake City. It's actually going to be in Salt Lake City next year. So hopefully y'all can come next year. But, Daniel can attest to this. A lot of the focus at conference was talking about AI. AI is a huge buzz right now. A lot of people diving deep into it, a lot of people leveraging it, and a lot of people really figuring out how to have this artificial intelligence work for them. I think and I've mentioned this before, it's the agents that are going to adopt these practices and use them to their advantage that I think are going to be miles ahead of the competition. So I took this slide deck from Frank Kern. I don't know if y'all, I'm sure y'all have heard me talk about him multiple times. I love his content. And we're going to talk about this at the end of this. But what I love the most about Frank Kern and everything that he does is he gives everything away. His entire strategy is to give everything away. And I'm going to show you guys what that value really turns into. So this is some of the content that he's been putting out recently. And he talks about this has made me more money than anything. And guys, this is so funny to me because I love seeing this type of content, but it's so gosh darn easy that it's hard. Y'all run into stuff like that where things are really easy to do and they're so easy that they're so hard, and it's a funny phenomenon. But number one, find out what your customer wants. It sounds so basic, but we run into this all the time. Josie and I were on showings yesterday, and it's a, a couple relocating from New York City down here to the Rio Grande Valley. And we've been having the hardest time, partially because there's a bit of a language barrier, but we've been having, and it's not Spanish, being the Rio Grande Valley, it's not a Spanish language barrier. They actually speak what is the language that they speak,
They
Josie?
speak Farsi.
Farsi.
Mhm.
Yeah, so they're originally from Turkey. So anyway, so they're communicating amongst themselves. We really don't know what they're saying. So we're kind of like, hey, but they also speak English. One of them speaks English. So we say, what do you think about this one? So we're trying to peel back the onion and figure out what they're really looking for. So now we know they want a kitchen with white cabinets. They want open concept. They want a master that is separate from the secondary bedrooms. They want at least one bedroom with an ensuite bath, a secondary bedroom with an ensuite bath, because they entertain and they have their family over and everything like that. So finding out what your customer wants and then tailoring, not only searching for buyers, but we're talking about buyers and sellers. What do buyers and sellers really want? To get pre-qualified for a loan, to fix their credit, to see what they can afford. Find out what your customer wants, and I'm gonna give you some ideas of what you can type in as a prompt to help you find these answers. Because it's such a simple question that it's confusing. What do they want? Well, a customer wants everything. What do they want? We're going to figure out how to break that down. So once we find out what they want, find out the three main things they need to do to get what they want. Again, it seems like common sense, which it kind of is, but I'm going to show you guys what to do so we can leverage that and use that to our advantage. Because now you create content that helps them do those main things. So simple that it's hard. It's the ABCs. What do they want? What do they need to do to get there? Create content to help them get what they really want. So going back to, okay, well, how are we going to answer these questions? Here's an idea. And this can result in endless content. Go to Reddit, search your topic. What are buyers looking for? What are sellers looking for? What are first time buyers looking for? What are retirees looking for? Whatever it is, copy the questions that people ask. Feed it to your AI, whether you're using Gemini or ChatGPT or Grok or Galaxy or whatever you're using. Analyze these questions, tell me their biggest struggles, get AI to create that content and create those answers, and then tailor your content to that. I have mentioned this before. I'll mention it again. I think of AI as the smartest personal assistant that you'll ever hire, and they work for free. But one thing I do know, especially from mentors, artificial intelligence is not intelligent because it won't do anything unless you tell it to do it. So you really have to master the prompt engineering, get the right content. And I'm going to give you guys a huge tip. I think it's in the next slide that I use, and it has changed the way that I leverage this. I want y'all to check this out. Here's a trick to get your content out fast and authentic. Talk your ideas on your phone's voice memo. Because when you talk, your ideas are unfiltered. When you type, you're thinking about what am I going to type? How do I spell it? What do I, how am I going to format it? Did I include punctuation? Even though none of that stuff really matters, talk it out. I love doing it on ChatGPT with the microphone feature. It saves a ton of time. I've done, 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minute, 5 minute prompts where I'm just, and Josie would come in the room. She said, "Who are you talking to?" And I'm literally talking on the microphone, ChatGPT, just getting those ideas out. So talk out your ideas. You can do it in a voice memo or do it using the microphone feature on your AI. Ramble on. Don't worry if it sounds dumb. Give the transcripts to AI and have AI extract all the cool parts. Then tell it to rewrite it. It's amazing because sometimes I will verbalize a prompt into AI. It'll transcribe it. I'll read it back and I'll say, I don't even realize that I said that. Has that ever happened to y'all? It's kind of like with music, right? Josh and Daniel, y'all are musicians. When you get an idea out, you record it on your voice memo. Daniel does this a lot with vocal ideas and guitar riffs and drum parts and whatever. And you get it out there, you record it on your voice memo, like, wow, how did I even come up with that? That was pretty cool. It's the same thing when you verbalize these prompts. So if I ever run into a problem, I'm like, hey, I have a really big, oh, check this out. I had a survey come in. I didn't understand exactly what all the aspects of the survey were alluding to because there were fence lines, setback lines. I know all that basic stuff, but the gentleman was asking me about these aspects of the survey that I had no idea. I pulled out the microphone. I said, I'm going to upload a picture of the survey. My client has questions about this. Act as a licensed surveyor in Texas and please answer the following questions. And then I looked at my text message and I said, this is what he's asking. Boom, boom, and I read it. And it came back with an answer that blew my socks off. Daniel and I were in Miami. We were walking down the street getting ready to go to dinner. We were walking to the hotel to go to dinner. I had a client that was confused about the right of rescission, the 3-day right of rescission, right, Daniel? We were walking to the hotel. I pulled it out. I said, my client has a question about the 3-day right of rescission. Make it as simple as a third grader and give a detailed explanation of the reasons why the right of rescission is necessary for a buyer. While we were walking to dinner, it came out with a response that I would have never been able to write myself. I sent it to him and he said, thank you for clarifying. It was unbelievable. So anyway, this is a huge hack. Talk it out, and that will get your raw thought expressed and let AI do all of the heavy lifting and trying to figure that stuff out and pull out what you need. So going back to what I love about Frank Kern and everything being free, you have to solve problems before you ask people for money. If you can solve these problems and give people the information that they're really looking for about what they really want, and you give it to them for free, and you can solve their problems, selling becomes effortless because they're going to trust you. They already like you, so sales conversations flow naturally instead of feeling pushy. You're going to come from that place of contribution, and they're going to know that you're a resource, not just an agent or a salesperson or whatever the case is. So I think that's huge. Mike Sherrard teaches it all the time. Never be a gatekeeper. There's no reason for us to be a gatekeeper for anything. We should be an open book of what we know, how we do it, things we do, tools we use, everything. So this is a part, and I struggle with this too. There are things that I know I should do, but I keep holding back. So I saw this graphic and I thought this was so powerful. When I'm ready, I'll start. When are you ever going to feel ready? There are so many people, buyers, sellers, agents, people in business, people looking to make a move, people looking to switch industries, whatever the case is. We have to start, and we have to start sooner because time is flying by. I can't believe it's November. It's going to be Thanksgiving before we know it. This year has been a complete blur. So, if you wait until you're ready, you're never going to start. So what's holding you back from starting right now? So that's all I have on that, guys. What do y'all think? What do y'all good stuff to take away? Really try that voice transcription. It's going to change the way you do things, and it makes things so much easier because you don't have to sit there and type it out and type it on your computer. Pull out your microphone and try it out. Good stuff.
Yeah, sounds good.
What
Well,
are y'all thinking?
yesterday I was for like with AI and everything like that, ChatGPT, I've been trying to get my Final Cut Pro and my motion effects plugins to work together. And it's not like real estate related, but kind of real estate related because I use it for real estate videos for our real estate marketing. And I was trying to drop and drag these motion effect plugins into Final Cut Pro, and my Final Cut Pro kept crashing on me. And then Alan had told me, go to ChatGPT and ask it, tell it my Final Cut Pro is crashing when I do this, when I do that. And ChatGPT asked me, what version of Final Cut Pro are you using? What IM installer are you using? What IM extension version are you using? All this stuff. So I gather all that information. I gather all the folder information, and it broke it down why it was crashing and what I needed to do to fix it. And I was like, okay, okay. And so then I went and I did everything, and now the thing works fine. But I was about to throw in the towel on the darn thing. I was like, this thing cost me hundreds of dollars, and I was gonna
Jo-
just throw it away. And
Josie
Chat
was getting
GPT,
ready. She was like, I think I need to buy a new computer.
I was like,
Like
that's
she didn't know what the problem
it.
was. You
I
know,
know, and
it's
Chat GPT solved it in like 10 minutes. And now it's up and running and it's great.
Yeah, I mean, I've been a little late to the Chat GPT party, but I've since joined, and it is pretty unbelievable how quickly it can spit something out that's 100% relevant to what you're asking it.
Mhm.
And it's mind blowing, but it's there. We got to use it to our advantage.
yeah. Have you been using it for some of your tasks and stuff like that, Josh? Are you pretty
Oh yeah,
oh yeah, for sure.
oh yeah. ChatGPT appeared in the world in a great time in my life when I was changing the way I was doing things. Being the one man band. You guys
Yeah.
have each other to kind of poke at and kind of rely on. It's me and my 94 personalities. I've made that joke several times, and that's really what's going on over here. But now it's me, ChatGPT, and my 94 personalities, and it's great.
That
Yeah.
sounds like a Forbes top business right there. That's what
Yeah.
I'm
I
talking
like
about.
that. I like that.
Yeah, no, I mean, but I think the big thing to remember is that it's a tool, and I think you guys know this because you use it and you see when people just put it all the stuff in and then just use whatever comes in. And then there's no secondary editing.
Right.
You gotta like. And I love Alan. I love what you were saying about using the mic. That's gonna save me from all the typing and making sure things are spelled and the grammar and all that because that's totally me. I'm like, dear diary, here's this asshole who doesn't
This asshole.
who doesn't know what a repair amendment is. Anyway, so that's my takeaway from today is
Oh my
use
God.
the voice memo feature. That's going to be great. But yeah, just remember that whatever regurgitate, whatever spits back at you, you still need to put your eyes on it. You're still
Absolutely.
responsible for whatever content comes out of AI. You can't blame the robot, and the robot is imperfect. So you got to make sure that it sounds like you. And I remove all the dashes, the bold
Yep.
print, the italic print. I try to humanize it. I literally tell ChatGPT, stop acting like a damn robot
Yeah, absolutely.
all the
And
time.
you can even tell it, you can give it a persona, right? And say,
Oh,
I want it to sound more conversational.
yeah.
I want you to simplify it.
I have a digital media thread or whatever, GPT, whatever they call it, that says like you have a snarky, dry sense of humor. Like
I
use that.
think our Chat GPTs are very similar.
Yeah.
Our
Yeah.
prompts sound very similar. I was like, this mofo does not know anything,
Yeah.
and
These
they're
things,
like, tone it down.
ChatGPT tells me to go take a walk.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like,
And that's the thing, and I love that you touched on that, Josh, is we have to we have to go back and make sure it's what we're looking for. You have to
right.
proof it, you have to edit it, you might need to move some stuff around. But that's where the human touch comes in. You obviously sometimes you might put a prompt and it comes out with something that you're not looking for. You say, nope, I'm not looking. You have to input yourself as the author of whatever you're asking for. And
Right.
then before you use it in your copy or use it in your social media, whatever, you have to proof it, make sure you like it, make sure it's accurate, fact check it, all that other kind of stuff. So
Does
that's a
this does
great
this
point.
does this really sound like me? And
Absolutely.
that's what I asked me. Would I say this? And
Exactly.
if the answer is no, I'll say that.
Well,
This doesn't
you,
sound like me. Give me another version.
yeah, you know what, Josh? When you start communicating on that microphone, it's really gonna start sounding like you because it's gonna be very conversational. It's gonna understand how you're structuring your thoughts, what kind of words you're using, everything like that. So instead of, and that's what I think is so powerful. Instead of putting that wall up, it's like, okay, I need to type this and I need to make sure I'm spacing this, and I'm gonna, you're literally just rambling
Yeah.
into the microphone. Everything comes out so fluid, and everything comes out authentic. And and Josh, I mention this about you all the time, capturing lightning in a bottle.
Oh yeah.
That's what it does. And that's why I love recording these meetings and stuff like that, because I run it through Opus Clip or something, and Opus Clip will come out, and I don't even remember that we talked about it, but it was really good stuff, you
Yeah.
know. And then we capture it, and you capture that lightning in a bottle, and Josh pointed that out about one of the clips that we were able to get. So yeah, I think capturing the unfiltered version on the microphone, it makes everything fluid, and you're really gonna get those ideas out, and then let the robot, as you say, let the robot make sense of it all.
There was one time I asked it, does this sound like me? And it said, no, it needs more curse words. And then it rewrote it.
It rewrote it.
It's like, this sounds more like you. And I'm like, you're
Yeah,
right, but I can't really say that.
We
yeah,
can't say that. It's been really good when writing emails. Going back to the repair
for
amendment.
sure.
Because making sure that I don't get too emotional. I like to once we get in the weeds and once we get in the battle zone, I like to be as dry as humanly possible.
Sure.
To not trigger anything and just focus on what the issues are, and that's where it's really come in clutch, is helping me navigate some difficult situations via email. I'll be
Absolutely.
honest, that's definitely been my biggest use of it. I mean, I do use it for social media, not so much my pictures, because I really want my pictures to look like I took them, not
Sure.
AI generation. No offense to those who use that, but I really want to still humanize what I do. But as far as communication is concerned, the email component is really, really where I hammered in on it and really helped with that. Because once we get under contract, a lot of, just because I want that paper trail. That's how I was taught at my aforementioned or former broker, was to get, once you're in negotiations, get everything in writing in case something comes back. So that's where I'm using that ChatGPT heavily, is to make sure our tough situations are handled accordingly.
For sure. For sure. Good stuff, guys. Good stuff. Well, in closing, do y'all have any closing remarks? Any questions? Any concerns? Anything y'all are having trouble with? Anything like that in closing?
No, I just want to extend, Josh, don't ever feel like a one-man band, man. You can hit us up at any time for any reason under the sun, 24/7.
Thank
So,
you.
but no,
Yeah, for sure.
wishing
As a
you
meet,
guys a great week, and go work hard and make it happen.
cheers.
For sure. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see y'all next week. Y'all have a good rest of your week.
Yeah, have a
All
good week,
righty.
guys.
All
Y'all
right.
too.
Thanks, guys. Y'all
Bye.
take care.